So we're here on July 27, 2013 at the rally to save the Berkeley Post Office, which was a WPA project, and we're here with Harvey Smith, who is an expert about WPA. And I was telling Harvey about the privatization of the San Francisco Botanical Gardens at Striving Arboretum, which used to be called Striving Arboretum. It was originally a WPA project and was the vote. They hired a lobbyist, paid him over $200,000 a year. Sam Lauter, very well connected to the Pelosi's, and the supervisors, the Budget and Finance Committee, London Breed, who quotes Martin Luther King but votes Clarence Thomas, made a huge speech in favor of the privatization, and only Eric Marr, who made no comment whatsoever, and John Avalos voted against it. Then it was sent on from there to the full board the next month, where they pushed up the vote a week early, and they didn't know, not a single supervisor asked a single question. The contract itself is for 30 years, 10 years with 2 extensions, and it allows them to put in this $15 million new building with a fence around it, and also gives them free reign, and their members are able to come in from 6 to 8 on Wednesdays free, and they're also having various member events which the public are shut out from. And do you have any comments about that in terms of what a WPA project was meant to be for people, and what historically that means, turning it over to a wealthy run nonprofit which has no meetings and no public input?
Well, you know, putting in historical context, I'm old enough to remember when you know, libraries were free, as they still are, but who knows. But museums were free, parks were free. We had free public education. You also have to ask yourself how, during the depths of the Depression, we were able to create all the things that we created. So we created infrastructure of roads, of buildings, of schools, of libraries. We hired people to staff them. And now, when our country has great wealth, why can't we do that? So the essential, you know, answer to that question is that we've allowed the very wealthy and large corporations to get away with not paying their taxes. It reduces the tax base, and then we have to look around for all the ways to essentially regressively tax the citizenry. So by and then create excuses for privatization. Okay, so increasing sectors of our society are being privatized. We see privatized schools, we see privatized prisons. Now the post office, there's an attempt to privatize the post office. So Parks and Rec is just kind of going along with a trend. And it's not a healthy trend. It's not a trend that creates more equity in our country, but it closes out people. One of the things the WPA did was democratize culture and recreation. So it created opportunities for people to enjoy culture through art, through music, through dance, through theater, and it created recreation areas for the public, created parks that people were able to access for free. Because the idea was, why should this just be available to the wealthy? The everyday working person should have access to these. And so we're actually moving in the opposite direction from that attitude, and have been for the past 30 years. So I just put it in that historical context. This is not a way to create an equitable and democratic society. And it's just a symbol of what's going on, you know, with the Botanical Garden. It's just a symbol of what's happening throughout our society, and we need to reverse it.
And what's really so ironic is that they're making the claim this is an educational institution, like a museum. At the same time, they feel that they need to charge people from the East Bay, and people who come there in a wheelchair from the East Bay, whose tax monies help pay millions of dollars to put these ADA compliant roads in there. It's just the most amazing hypocrisy. And it's just as though they just want a little country club for themselves, and they don't care about all those people who used to go lie on the lawns and enjoy themselves, or the people who used to meet each other. It's also a place where a commons where people could meet, and I think we've really lost that type of commons. I think there's an insidious privatization of public spaces going on in public parks and control over who goes to the parks. You see that a lot with these public-private partnerships, so-called, of parks. We see that in San Francisco, and Emerald Park was announced yesterday, for example, by Parks Alliance, which is actually a front for the wealthy to control what goes on in the parks of San Francisco. Tax bond monies are used, and the wealthy decide what goes in. Often it's frequently named after them, like the Phyllis Diller Playground in Dolores Park.